This is the Rob Brown Show.
Yeah.
Only on ESPN.
ESPN Upstate.
And away we go, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. The big show is on the radio. This is ESPN Upstate. Hello, Upstate South Carolina. Once again, great to be with you. I am Rob Brown here at the Casa de Love, back in the palatial ESPN Upstate studios. The man in charge of every moment of the sensation of sound about to enter your ear holes. He is the great one. He is hashtag Dad Kicks, Colonel Grudge, the conductor of the Symphony of Sound, the Alpha and the Omega of ESPN Upstate. He is Lonzo, in charge of the broadcast. Happy Monday, Zo. Here we go again, man.
Happy NBA playoff week. Looking forward to the play-in games.
Yes, indeed. We got NHL playoffs on one hand. We got NBA play-in tournament in the other. Lonzo, it's a good time to be a sports fan, man. Good time. Even if you're not into it, it's a good time to be a sports fan because every game at this point, every game matters, man. Every game matters. Stanley Cup playoffs underway and in a different format than ever before. The NBA playoffs in a different format than ever before. Major League Baseball is hitting its stride. MLS is hitting its stride. The Greenville Triumph hitting their stride. The Swamp Rabbits hitting their stride. Lonzo, man, like it's good to be us every day, but it's real good to be us right now, man. If I may say so braggadociously.
Well, I think that every time I look in the mirror, but that's just me.
That's fair. You've earned that. Yeah. 3 hours of sports talk goodness coming your way right now. And what do you say, Zo? What do you say we just jump right into it? Because we are locked and loaded today, boys.
Let's do lunch.
This is a very nutritious lunch. All the food groups are represented.
You guys are here.
What in the wide world of sports is going on here?
It is the lunch breakdown. The three things you have to know before you start talking sports with your friends, family, coworker, or the dog, whoever you spend your lunch break with. Here is what the scuttlebutt will be around the lunch table. We dive right in with item number one on the lunch breakdown. How about it, boys and girls? We had spring college football, and Sam Houston State has become your FCS champions with just 16 seconds remaining on the clock. Sam Houston State ends up winning it all. It came down to a very dramatic final play. Sam Houston State takes the kickoff. They drive the length of the field after missing a backside wide receiver wide open across the back of the end zone. Sam Houston State says, you want drama in the FCS? You got drama. And it is going to sound, this is called me stalling because the wrong button was pushed once again. You want drama? You got drama. And it sounded like this.
Ezard lined up now in the slot to the left of Eric Schmidt on 3rd and goal with 21 seconds left. Play clock down to 5. Schmidt back to throw, fires over the middle, and it is caught. It's a touchdown. A D calls it in, and Sam Houston has the lead with 16 seconds left.
They worked the edges of the defense all game long. And sooner or later, a slant, some in-cut route was going to present itself. They waited till the most important time in the game to go to Adei or Ezard to play before, but it was right over the middle of the field. And, hey, that's drilling one right there. Stepping into a throw, that's all you got. And he's accurate with it. Excellent throw and a nice catch on the back end to give Sam Houston a lead here with not much time left, just 16 seconds.
It was all they needed as Sam Houston State needed the late touchdown after South Dakota State made a comeback of their own. The Jackrabbits were down 17-7 and reeled off 14 consecutive in the fourth quarter to take a 4-point lead. Sam Houston State's final drive included a pair of fourth down conversions. It took over 5 minutes. Jaquez Ezzard, once again the star for Sam Houston State, caught 2 touchdown passes, had a punt return touchdown called back at the end of the first quarter because of a block in the back. Ezzard ended the game with 10 catches for 108 down there in Frisco, Texas. The game was already kind of a weird one as rainstorms and lightning delayed the game midway through the second quarter. The thunderstorms were all around the Dallas-Fort Worth metro area on Sunday. They also delayed the PGA Tour event in McKinney, Texas. The lightning delay, after it was over, the teams came back out, finished up the second quarter, had a 3-minute halftime once the game was resumed, and Sam Houston State gets the dramatic dub. They finished the season at 10-0. South Dakota State ends at 8-2, and your FCS season comes to its conclusion. Zoe, I don't know if you have the ability, and I will say this to everybody out there. If you are in a spot where you are missing football and you have the ability to go out there and to pull up that FCS national championship game from yesterday, do it, because it was an incredible football game. You want drama, you had drama. The boys at the FCS level put on a show yesterday, Lonzo.
And I got to admit, didn't even know it was on.
Yeah.
And probably I am a lot of people in the boat that I was in and had no clue.
Yep. And we are going to talk about that later on in the show because it is, shall we say, disappointing that the FCS level championship took place this weekend and nobody knew it. Nobody knew it. We did. We knew it. I watched a little bit of it, but nobody knew it. And that's a dramatic problem, both at the FCS football organizational level and a problem for football fans as a whole. So we're going to talk about that later on in the show. Item numero dos. We talked a little bit about this earlier, or I should say late last week, but a week after a petition with over 3,500,000 signatures was turned into the Japanese national government, asking them to step in and cancel or postpone the 2021 Olympics. The situation still not looking great in Japan. And now, according to a poll taken by one Japanese media corporation, there is an estimation that 3/4, 75-ish% of Japanese citizens do not want the Olympics taking place in Tokyo this year. They want it pushed. Less than 2% of the Japanese country has been vaccinated against the coronavirus. They still have a much higher than normal amount of folks who are infected with the coronavirus on a week-to-week basis. 75% of the country of Japan does not want this event to take place in what we're looking at a little over a month at this point, a month and a couple of weeks away from the start of the Olympics. Zoe, I got to tell you, man, like I've been approaching this with the belief that it is what it is. They're going to have this thing, right? I mean, there's too much money wrapped up in it. There's no way they're not going to host it. But look, with 75% of the citizenry not wanting the Olympics to take place, it is only a matter of time, I believe, Lonzo, before the Japanese government steps in and says, look, at the end of the day, our job is to represent the people of this country. The people of this country, whether it's due to a failure of the government, whether it's due to a failure of the International Olympic Committee, wherever you place the blame for it, 75% of the citizens here do not want the Olympics. So my belief is beginning to waver away from it will happen over towards the sides of the government may step in and cancel this. If you're talking 3 out of 4 folks don't want it to happen, just as a representation of the people. And the closer we get to the event, the greater my disappointment will be if the red flag gets thrown up before the Olympics even begin.
It's not looking good, that's for sure. But if they figure out that they're still going to make money on it, they'll still do it, because I think money trumps.
We're going to find out. Keep in mind, a good chunk of the money from the Olympics comes from folks who are traveling in from other parts of the country, and there will be no foreign spectators this year. So there will be no Americans or Brits or Aussies flying into Japan and spending their money to watch this. This will 100% be within Japan itself. So will that have the influence that I think that it unfortunately might? We'll address that later on in the show as well. And finally, number 3, our NBA play-in tournament is officially set, and the Charlotte Hornets stumbled coming towards the finish line of the regular season. They had themselves a lost weekend at the worst possible time. They had 2 games. They needed to win to be at the 7 or 8 seed instead of the 9 or 10. They had leads in both of them and lost both of them. A pair of heartbreakers, including a 115-110 defeat at the hands of the Wiz yesterday afternoon, a game in which the Hornets led by 11 beginning the fourth quarter, and they fell out down the stretch. Now, it does not mean that the season is over. Charlotte is in the play-in tournament. They will play tomorrow evening. They have lost their final 5 games of the regular season. They are the 10 seed, which means not only do they have to win twice, Lonzo, but they have to win twice with both games on the road. By way of being the 10 seed, they have to go to number 9 Indiana tomorrow at 6:30, and then the loser of Boston-Washington on Thursday, they will have to play one of those teams on the road, and if they are able to get into the tournament after that, they will be forced to play the 76ers, the Eastern Conference number 1 seed, in the first round of the playoffs. The Hornets brought it on themselves by going down 0-5 during the stretch. That is disappointing. They also went 3-9 over its final 12. Now, we know that they had some injuries that they had to deal with. We knew that there were some injuries that they were fighting back to get healthy, and those came into play this weekend. But at the end of the day, Lonzo, they had the opportunity to not be a 9 or 10 seed, to at least have a chance to host one of 2 must-wins games if they were unable to get the first game done on the road. 0-3 down the stretch, including the final 2 games having leads in both. A very disappointing way to finish the regular season for the Charlotte Hornets, though, and now they've got to try to find a way to take that momentum, completely reverse it, because the 76ers are a good basketball team, and if they can win 2 in the play-in tournament, will be on the road against the Eastern Conference's best team. And unfortunately, I hate to say it, they did it to themselves.
Well, despite all that, I'd rather look on the positive side of it. They're in. I mean, they've got a chance with this play-in format to make up for what they were unable to do at the end of the season. And you hear it said many times, and we'll continue to hear it said, that the playoffs is a brand new season. So you come in, maybe the desperation makes them play better, and I'm just glad they made it in. I'm looking forward to seeing what they can do.
Absolutely, 100%. They get back some of those injured players. This is a chance, as Zoe pointed out, to reset. Forget what happened in the regular season. That's irrelevant. Lonzo, their season now is 1 game long. Their entire season is tomorrow night. That's it. That's all they have. Live and die tomorrow night. And if they win that, then they move on to Thursday, and their season is 1 game long. It's do or die. Some of the best teams in the country do their best work when their back is against the wall, and the Hornets' back is absolutely against the wall. We'll break down that play-in tournament game 1 for the Hornets tomorrow later on in the show, and give you a full NBA bracket as that season has come to its conclusion as well. All of that and more coming up over the next 3 hours. Plus, Greenville Triumph yesterday on ESPN2. How did it go? I will tell you how it felt from the supporter section. And, ladies and gentlemen, he can run the smack. But one Mark Ryan made his way into the supporter section for that match yesterday. Yes, indeed. We'll tell you how that match went and what's next for the Triumph. All that and more coming up later on in the show. I'm Rob. He's Lonzo. You are you hanging out with us on the Rob Brown Show. This is ESPN Upstate.
Golf cart.
Yep.
The Rob Brown Show. Listen on your computer and tablet at ESPNUpstate.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, yes, indeed, we have it for you. The 2021 ESPN Upstate Golf Card is available now. And all you got to do is go to upstategolfcard.com. Upstategolfcard.com. You go there, you are going to get 9 premier upstate courses available to you for just $99. You're going to get a round at each one of them. That's less than $15 a round. That is $450 plus in greens fees, and you're getting to play it for less than $1 a hole. 75+% value, and you're getting it nowhere else but with the Upstate Golf Card. You can see the courses, get the details, or just do what you know you want to do and get yourself one, your friends one, your family one. Do it now. Go to upstategolfcard.com to learn more. That's upstategolfcard.com. Automotive Matt.
All right, so your feed is sounding bad.
All right.
I don't. It sounds like almost sounds like you're peaking on your end.
All right.
Because when you're hitting your hot spots, it's causing the digital to break out.
All right. I have dropped my mic volume significantly. Is it any better now?
When you get up close to the mic, it still sounds like it's doing it.
So if I back off now, am I better?
Yes.
Check 1, 2.
It's still doing it a little bit. I almost wonder if you should reboot, but I'm always scared of that.
How much time do we have?
You have only 2 minutes.
Let's see how it does through this segment.
Yeah, next break's a little bit longer.
Okay, perfect.
Did you watch last night?
I did. Well, I watched it very early this morning because
okay.
I came home from the Triumph game and I fell right asleep. But I did wake up about 5 a.m. and watched it early a.m.
Dude, when you get up at 5 a.m., go back to sleep. Go back to bed.
Do. Well, I was asleep at like, I don't know, 8 o'clock last night, which is so not normal for me. Like we got done with the match. I grabbed that burger on the way home. I came in with every intention to watch it. I laid out on the couch to wait for it to start. So I hit the couch and I was out like a light, son. I slept on the couch from like 8 a.m. I woke up at like 5 a.m. and I done got my full 8 hours at that point. So I was just awake.
Now you mess with your sleep patterns. Yep. See what happens tonight.
Yup. The key is try to make it through the day without taking a nap so that I can sleep like a normal person.
30 seconds.
Ben, what's up? Good morning, big dog. Welcome to the show. Happy Monday. Josh, great to see you yesterday, man. Great job on the 1s and 2s, bud. Absolutely smoked it. Well done.
messing around. Real, unfiltered sports talk on the Rob Brown Show, ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. This is ESPN Upstate. Hello, Upstate, South Carolina. Tremendous to be back with you right here on 97.7 FM, Greenville 97.1 FM, Spartanburg, all around the world on the Odyssey app, AUDACY. Our play-in tournament in the National Basketball Association is set. As we mentioned, we will get it kicked off with the 9 and 10 on the East and West, and the 7 and 8 on the East and West. We have the Indiana Pacers taking on the Charlotte Hornets in your 9-10 match in the East. Over in the West, that 9-10 matchup is Memphis taking on the San Antonio Spurs. Your 7-8 seed, the Lakers, do indeed fall into the play-in tournament with a 42-30 record. Most of those L's racked up at a point in time when LeBron and Anthony Davis were both unavailable for the Lake Show, but should both be back for the play-in tournament. LeBron did make his way back onto the floor when the Lakers took on the New Orleans Pelicans yesterday. He rolled his ankle in the midst of that game, and there was some concern about whether LBJ will be able to make it into the play-in tournament, but he said everything is fine. He's feeling good, that he should be able to go as they take on Golden State. And I'll tell you what, Lonzo, I know there's a bunch of players who are not in love with the play-in tournament, predominantly players who are, in the play-in tournament, but we get LeBron taking on Steph Curry, and the loser goes home in the opening round of not loser goes home. Losers then goes to the second round of the play-in tournament, where they will have to beat either Memphis or San Antonio. But, Lonzo, what else could you ask for, man? What else could you? Steph and Bron in a winner moves on, loser goes into a single loss situation. I know there's some folks that don't love the play-in tournament, but it built the drama right here in round number one. We're not even to the bracket yet, and we've got drama. I'm here for it.
I have something we could ask for. Unless I looked at it wrong, this game doesn't come on until 10 p.m.
Eastern time will be the death of me.
Well, so you would have gotten it at, 9 o'clock if you were still in Central?
Yeah, 9 o'clock I can handle.
Yeah, but 10 o'clock, move these things, move them a little bit. These are important games. Stagger them. Make them on separate days. Wouldn't you make each day one single game so you get an entire audience to watch that one single game and build it up that way instead of putting a couple games on a night? I think that's a bad move right there, especially when ratings have been down. Put all the focus on one game per night. That just makes more sense to me.
Yeah, I probably would have structured that way. I assume that there's got to be some sort of television reason that they're doing back-to-back games. They're both in prime. Well, one's in prime time and one's in a late night slot, but they're both getting featured. So I can't be wildly disappointed with what we're seeing. I can't be wildly disappointed, but I'm certainly not thrilled about it. That being said, Zoe, if you are going to do it that way, if you are going to have a couple of games a night through the duration, the play-in tournament is not supposed to be, it's not supposed to have the hype and build of the actual NBA playoffs, right? Like, we know that. But it kind of by default has to. Predominantly because of the fact that it's lose and go home. There are two teams that are playing tomorrow night that their season ends. That's it. You had your shot.
Yeah, and
right home.
You have the defending champions in the play-in game.
Yeah.
You find a way to feature that. You have to. And I get what you're saying. Technically, it is prime time on West Coast. It's just not here.
Eastern time. I've told you. Eastern time is the only thing that I dislike about living here. It's the only thing.
I'm surprised you haven't received those texts of go back to Florida yet.
Oh, no, I have many of them, just for different reasons than complaining about Eastern time. By the way, has LeBron, Zoe, has LeBron become the most polarizing athlete in the NBA? Is LeBron the most polarizing player in the NBA? Because you go around on the weekends and I see LeBron gear. I see folks rocking LeBron gear here and there. Whenever he comes up on the Twitter and all that, he's got a good group of fans around him. But I got to tell you, I would suspect probably a chunk of the people tuning in for the Lakers' first round game against Steph Curry are tuning in to watch LeBron get kicked out of the playoffs, right? They're tuning in to watch LeBron take the L. The dude has become incredible. Fair or not fair, he's become incredibly polarizing.
Oh, it's fair. I mean, he's done this to himself. I mean, before all the politics, that's different. That he was having to deal with the comparison of Michael Jordan. And the only reason why you have to deal with the comparison is if you're comparable, which he is. But with all the politics that he's thrown out there since in the last year or so, he's making it worse from that standpoint. I'm sure he doesn't care, but he's probably got more people on the hater side now than he did a year ago.
That's probably not incorrect. I think the folks that support LeBron staunchly support Braun. I think the folks that dislike him, I mean, the guy could save a group of puppies from a fire, and they'd say he didn't do it right. He has become an incredibly polarizing figure, and I think that is part of the appeal of that game, Golden State v. LA. Is we are going to watch if King James is unable to get past the red-hot Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors. He gets it. Now, he would gets a second shot because they will get another opportunity against the winner of the 9-10 game, and the Lakers will host both of these games. Golden State will go to L.A. If L.A. loses that game, then either Memphis or San Antonio will come to L.A. in order to take them on. But I got to imagine there's going to be as many people watching to see LeBron get bumped as there will be to watch King James try to add another trophy to the hardware collection.
Now, I'm not saying you throw a game, but if you know you're going to win the second game and the matchup will be different, right?
The matchup will be different.
I mean, if you make it in by winning both games, you know who you're going to play. Who will you play if you make it in? So we're playing for 7 and 8, right?
Yeah, 7
They're
and 8
playing,
play, winner goes in.
They're playing for 7 and 8. So if your matchup at 8 is something you like better than your matchup at 7, do you throw a game?
Oh, you're saying for the seating for the actual bracket?
Yes.
The big tournament bracket. That's a good question. If you go in out of the West, if you go in as the 8 seed, you're getting Utah in the first round. If you go in as the 7 seed, you're getting Phoenix. I got to tell you, I'd much rather take on the Phoenix Suns. As good as CP3 and Booker have played, I'd much rather take on Phoenix than Utah in the opening round. So if I'm LeBron or Steph Curry, I'm putting everything I got. I'm putting everything I got into making my way into that 7 seed and not having to fall down. Now, over in the East, I could make the argument that I would rather take on, I don't know that I believe it, but I could make the argument that I would rather take on Philadelphia than Brooklyn. The Brooklyn Nets are the 2 seed at 48-24. The 76ers at 49-23 are the 1 seed. But you're going to have, I think, that all-star lineup for the Nets playing together and healthy as a unit for the first time, maybe since they've all gotten together. As good as the Sixers have been, I might rather take on Philly as the 8th seed. The problem you bump into, Lonzo, is let's say you're Boston and Washington. Do you maybe rest it up and take it easy in the 7-8 round in order to get an easier opponent out of the Pacers or the Hornets and make yourself the 8th seed to take on Philly? Problem is, you got 2 chances to win. If you lose either one of them, you're done. I don't know that I can take the risk. If it's a 5-game series, 7-game series, you can coast the game or 2 to kind of get your chemistry back together. I don't know that I'm giving everything I got in the opening round game, even if it puts me up against Philly instead of Brooklyn, or over on the other side puts me up against Utah instead of Phoenix, because, dude, all it takes is for you to go out there, maybe not get everything you got in game number 1, and then all of a sudden, if you're in the East, the Charlotte Hornets, as we talked about a second ago. You're over in the East, and the Charlotte Hornets find themselves in a spot where they are playing for their lives, and they just hit a new gear. And now all of a sudden you get bumped in 2 games and you're done. You don't get the playoffs at all.
It's absolutely a major gamble. And I'm not suggesting that any of these teams will do that. But I think if one starts slacking off and suddenly they lose the game, you could almost speculate that that's why they did it.
There will be questions to be answered. Let's take a break. When we come back here in just a minute from right now, as we continue on with the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate, the NHL Playoffs are underway. Got a few games from the first round in the books, a few more to come later this week. Who's where? Who's already starting hot? Who's not? That's next. This is ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show. Listen on your Amazon.
All right, I would say to reboot, but I am concerned if you lose you won't lose your mic though, because it can still hear it.
Yes, correct. I can disconnect and reconnect, or I can reboot the entire machine. I'll be fine on the stream either way. I'll just go quiet for a second.
Yeah, I would reboot the entire thing.
All right, I'm
Yes.
going to throw you up. Folks, you will not be able to hear anything, but give me like 30 seconds and I'll be right back. All right, should be back. Can you hear me, Zoe?
Yeah, I hear you.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
I think we're still having the problem now. I wonder if it has to do with your internet.
I mean, everything else is going fine.
I've noticed some delay on the video feed, and I don't know.
Okay, it might be. I mean, my levels are all set on the machine. I'm bumping green. I've got it about as low as I can go. I'm not even touching yellow.
Yeah, and if you go any lower, I won't be able to get anything out of it over here.
Yeah.
So we haven't had this problem ever. So it's weird.
Is it just when I get real loud that it's?
For the most part, yes.
Okay. I'll try to back off when I'm going to get loud. Not getting loud, unfortunately, not an option for me.
Yeah, I know. Unless you want to go straight up NPR the rest of the way, which might actually still mess it up. I don't know.
The Washington Capitals won in overtime 4-3. Tom Wilson, one of the most beleaguered NHL journeymen, with the assist late in the game to set up a beautiful goal.
Still doing it, by the way.
Is it serious?
Yeah.
I can't do
Because I think it may have something to do with the mic, because when you're doing the NPR, you get up in the mic.
All right, so stay back off the mic. Let's try that.
20 seconds. It's not unlistenable, but there are times when it's pretty bad. So.
Call 844-GSP ESPN. Text keyword ESPN and your message to 71307. Get in the game on the Rob Brown Show. Only on ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. This is ESPN Upstate. Rob Brown, Lonzo, and you be a part of the broadcast. 844-477-3776, 844-GSP ESPN. Text us at 71307, 71307. First round of the NHL playoffs underway. The Islanders in overtime take a 4-3 win over Pittsburgh. The Wild got a phenomenal game. I felt really bad. There are guys, Lonzo, that you just come to love, even if they're not on your team. And Marc-Andre Fleury is one of those guys for me in the National Hockey League. The dude is one of the most steadfast goalkeepers in NHL history. They were telling the story about him and his career before Vegas took on Minnesota on, Sunday, yesterday. They played a scoreless game all the way until like 6 minutes remaining in the third period when Minnesota was able to net a goal. Eriksson out got one with for like 3:20 to go in overtime. And Marc-Andre Fleury takes the L for the Golden Knights, who fall into an 0-1 hole. The Lightning and the Panthers talk about a game. I'm going to go ahead and say this. Lightning Panthers, you got a Florida rivalry. Tampa Bay taking on the team that calls himself all of Florida. And Tampa Bay wins game number 1, 5-4, and end up one game in that round one matchup. But Zoe, if you are like a light hockey fan or a mild hockey fan, or even if you're just kind of vaguely interested in the sport, I would tell you to watch that Lightning Panthers game match from round one and stay tuned to that series, because these two teams beat the hell out of each other in game number 1. I mean, it was definition of what we think of when we think about hockey. The NHL is alive and well, and that series absolutely proved that. Flames and Canucks 6-5. The Flames in the Canadian division, the Northern division, are up 1-0 there. Not 1-0. That was actually a conclusion of a regular game. I forgot that the Canadian division has a couple of games still to play that are regular season to finish up the Northern division seeding. Tonight, Bruins Capitals, the Brew Crew are in a hole 0-1 after a phenomenal game number 1 in that division. And coming up this evening, the Predators and the Hurricanes, as well as the Blues and the Avalanche. The Avalanche, the number 1 overall seed in the NHL playoffs. The Preds and the Canes are an interesting one to me, Zoe, because they have kind of built in this rivalry this year. They remember it's the new divisions, the quarantine divisions this year, and the Predators, who were expecting to be a real contender this year, end up in the 4th seed. Your Carolina Hurricanes on the other side end up winning that division and are the number 1 seed, so they are the host in this. And what a series this one might turn out to be. Carolina, I have loved the story of the Hurricanes, Lonzo. They have gone from, I would say they've gone from, I don't know that they've gone from anything. They are still, to some degree, media darlings. They are a media darling of a team. They were a team that kind of embraced, they followed a similar path to what the Predators followed when they were coming up, kind of out of relative obscurity as a new team on the block, a Southern hockey team. Carolina has done the same thing, and that is to say, they're not really super concerned with, hey, we're gonna do the traditional hockey thing. They've done their own thing. They went out there, and you talk about post-game celebrations. I have loved what Carolina has done after wins. They go out and they bring out the Tiny Tots basketball, and they do dunk contests. If a guy gets a game winner, he skates out to center ice and he does the Mjolnir strike, the hammer strike on center ice, and everybody goes falling down. Remember, it was it last year, the year before, that one of the guys in the Hurricanes, Don Cherry, went on a rant where he called the Carolina Hurricanes, quote, a bunch of jerks. end quote, because of their celebrations after wins. John Kerry, they didn't do anything. Don Cherry got fired for calling them that. But the beautiful thing about it, Zoe, and this is why they were already one of my favorite teams to watch, even though I'm a Preds guy, they leaned into that. In fact, for a while, their social media handles all changed to a bunch of jerks. And I think they put out a T-shirt at one point that had the Hurricanes logo, but instead of where it said Hurricanes on it, it said a bunch of jerks across the front of it. They leaned into that and have done a phenomenal job of building up the, not prestige, I guess notoriety around that name. And now they come into the Stanley Cup playoffs, not just as a team that really has kind of gained some national support because of the fact that they've got that personality about them. They've got that attitude and that edge about them. But, oh, by the way, they're a damn good hockey team. They're a really good hockey team. They are one of the favorites to be lifting the Stanley Cup at the end of the year. But they've got to go through the Nashville Predators, a team that ended their regular season with what I want to say 2 back-to-back wins over the Hurricanes. So it is far from an overkill situation. Carolina is going to go up against a team that knows the MO that they have followed, a similar team in Nashville and a Nashville team that is hungry to prove that they are still the class of the South when it comes to hockey, just a few years removed from their first Stanley Cup appearance. Zoe, I got to tell you, man, while I love the Florida rivalry in Tampa Bay and Florida and the Lightning and the Panthers getting it on down there in the Sunshine State, as far as that kind of upper South rivalry goes, Carolina and Nashville have built one. And if you are in any way interested in hockey, the way that this rivalry is shaped up, especially with this special year, they're in the same division, and now Carolina has taken the crown off the head of the Preds and put it on themselves in the quest for a Stanley Cup. If you're looking at getting into the NHL playoffs, Nashville v. Carolina is a great place to start, Lonzo.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing like using something as a rallying cry for unity as far as a bunch of jerks. I love that. And the fact that they're having a minor league kind of atmosphere there with all the fun they're having. Baseball, Major League Baseball should do that. And it sounds like a cool rivalry. And, some people use those things as rallying cries and some people use them as jokes, like that show for men.
I love when teams get over the pretentious stuff and lean into the swerve, right? I love when teams get over it and lean into the swerve. And that's what Carolina did. It's what Nashville did to some degree too, right? There are a lot of fans that I, for lack of a better word, label as pretentious. A lot of fans that I label as pretentious. And, I've said for many, many times, baseball fans are the worst, right? Like, you have to do it this way because this is the way that it's done. And I don't love that. That's why Don Cherry, one of, if not arguably, the most iconic hockey commentator outside of maybe Doc Emmerich, got canned for call. I mean, he said some other stuff. He went on a rant about immigrants and stuff like that. It was very out of place. But Don Cherry went with they're a bunch of jerks comment because they broke the tradition, right? After a win, you're supposed to skate out to center ice, hold up your sticks, acknowledge the fans, and then skate off. And Carolina's out there doing like choreographed dances to celebrate dubs. But they created this almost character, if you will. They created this almost character that they got called out for being, and they leaned into that skid. And it was great, man. It was phenomenal. And I love that they have done it. I love that they have leaned into that and created this larger-than-life aura around them. But the Preds did the same thing, man. The Preds did the same thing. The Preds, when they started going, were being told, this is how hockey culture works. I've told you guys the story of why I'm a Predators fan. It's because when I went to my first Predators game without a team that I was a fan of, when I went to my first Predators game, it was like a college football game that a hockey match broke out at, right? They steered into it. They have the tailgate parties and the country music and the offensive linemen from the Titans going shirtless in the box and losing their minds. They didn't care. They said, we are not going to bring hockey culture to the South. They said, we're going to play hockey in the culture of the South. And Carolina, to some degree, has done the same thing. They've built up this kind of cult following because of it that I'm in love with. And that is why this opening round series, like I said, you get into this opening round series, and whether it's Nashville or Carolina that walks out the winner, you will have a new fan favorite between one of these teams. If you've been looking for the door to open for you to get in to become a hockey fan, this Carolina-Nashville rivalry in the opening round might be it. Let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll wrap up hour number 1. Plenty more to get into. Triumph play yesterday, a 1-1 draw against Union-Omaha Legacy Early College. About as good of a result. But did the Triumph get screwed out of a goal that could have brought them to 4-0-0? I think so. I'll tell you why. That's coming up later on the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show.
I think it was too. I when it happened, Josh sitting in front of it, I couldn't tell if he got deep enough into the goal. But after I'm actually, as a matter of fact, I'm watching the replay of the match right now on the ESPN app. It's up, and after seeing a couple of angles of it, I'm 90% sure he was. I mean, the dude was 3 steps deep in the goal, and the ball was over his head. I absolutely think that was in. That should have been 2-1. I don't think there's any recourse for it, right? Like, short of USL going back and saying it should have been a goal. But even still, they don't have to, right? Because the only 2 angles of the goal that were available, neither one of them, I don't think, would meet the criteria of being conclusive that it was. So I don't know what, if any, recourse is available for it. I mean, you're happy to get the draw. You're happy to get a point. You're happy to walk out of there with the 1-1 against the second best team in the USL. Would have loved to have walked out with a full 3, and that goal certainly would have done that. But I don't know what if anything could be done about it, which is disappointing. Stadium looks great on TV, though. Do we get any leads, Lonzo?
Well, engineering wants to know if you have a router and have access to all that. I said, I don't know if you do, or if you're plugged in directly.
Yeah, I'm plugged in directly.
Okay. They suggest you reboot the router, which probably shouldn't do that now. Probably should wait till after the show.
Yep, I'll do it after the show's over. But I mean, I've got, and Grant, I mean, I was gonna say maybe it's a broadband thing, because I've got my phone hooked up to Wi-Fi. I've got my Xbox running on Wi-Fi, watching the match from yesterday. But I have that going every single day, right? Like I've got my Xbox on and my phone connected every day, and this is the first time it's happened.
Well, Chris suggested that maybe there's a lot of traffic. I mean, as far as internet goes in your building, maybe, but I don't know why there'd be more today than usual, but it could be.
Captain America Chris Evans down the hall making his appearance.
He is an engineer now.
He is an engineer.
And more times than not, he comes when I need help. So, that works for me.
Captain America's here to save the day. Yeah, Joseph's right. I don't think there's anything the league can or will do about it. You're exactly right, Joe. I didn't see I haven't seen an angle that is indisputably conclusive that the USL, but even if they could, I mean, even if there was one, I don't know what they could do about it. You can't go back and award the goal retroactively, right? So now I will say this as a, and this is my it's not my first full year. I mean, obviously I watched the Triumph last year too, but as a recent USL League One superfan, if I may deem myself so, I have not been thrilled with the level of officiating in it so far, and this just kind of adds to that. And that's a major problem. That's a major problem to me. You cannot have and listen, I know like VAR is not an option at this level, and I know that I would say a lot of fans are not big fans of VAR. You go back and watch that Chelsea-Leicester game. Chelsea had what looked to be the go-ahead goal, equalizing goal in the 88th minute, 89th minute, whatever it was. And then VAR ruled the goal scorer offsides, which I do not think that he was. But, I mean, how hard is it to have a cam pointed directly at the side of the goal? Look, if the ball is visible on the other side of the post, it's a goal. I think if you had that camera angle, that would have had to have been ruled a goal in real time.
$30 seconds.
The mesh hat backwards is not a great look, is it? I just realized that.
Well, it's got to be hard for you seeing how good my hair looks today, and no matter what you do with the hat, you just can't compare.
Can read, so he says. Email Rob Brown at ESPNUpstate.com and we'll put him to the test. This is the Rob Brown Show, local sports talk on ESPN Upstate.
Rob Brown Show back on your radio. It's ESPN Upstate. Rob, Lonzo, and you. Text line is open. The Eagles Market text line, 71307, 71307. Start your text with ESPN. We can read them on the air. I wanted to get to this on Friday, but we had a couple of stories that broke on Friday that prevented me from getting to it. But I gotta tell you, I got a new favorite pitcher, and it's the only thing that sucks about it is that he's an NL East rival. Noah Syndergaard. They call him Thor, Lonzo. Noah Syndergaard with the long blonde hair. They call him Thor, and he laid down the hammer on the takes last week. We started talking. We've had conversations on this show many times about the unwritten rules of baseball, of which I am not a fan. I dislike the premise of the unwritten rules of baseball because they lead to very dumb things happening. Well, apparently, so does Noah Syndergaard. He was asked about the unwritten rules of baseball and whether the old school approach to baseball needs to give way to a new school of thought, including doing away with the unwritten rules of baseball. And Noah Syndergaard said, quote, I think they're pretty stupid, to be honest. Anything unwritten sounds pretty stupid. I think it's very old school, and I think there needs to be a new school approach. Syndergaard recalled a specific moment when Fernando Tatis Jr. hit a pair of dingers off of Dodgers pitcher Trevor Bauer and followed them up with a celebration. The two of them even got into it on Twitter. They started trash talking back and forth. Syndergaard, who is a pitcher, chimed in to support Fernando Tatis Jr. When Bauer was a free agent. He hinted he'd join the Mets, but eventually picked the Dodgers and apologized to Mets fans basically for trolling them. And Noah Syndergaard went after him too. He supported Fernando Tatis Jr. for the dingers. He said, quote, I think it's great for baseball, and I think the fans really enjoy it. It's exciting. People are able to see both of our personalities. I think baseball has gotten soft. I think there should be some more bleep talking. I agree with what Bauer recently said. He gave up 2 home runs to Tatis, and Tatis heckled him pretty good. I think that's awesome. I agree with Bauer. That does not warrant somebody to get thrown at. End quote. I am just glad to hear a baseball fan, a baseball player, who is calling out the stupid unwritten rules of baseball. It is great to see. It is great to hear. Round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for Thor being willing to stand up and say these unwritten rules are hot garbage. I respect it. 2 hours left. We'll hit them hard when we come back on the Rob Brown Show. Rob Alonso and you. This is ESPN Upstate.
ESPN.
Or they've come up with some other options, but I don't like any of them, including rebooting it here, or you switch into another channel. But if you do that, that's going to mess up Mark. And like I said, it's not, in my opinion, unlistenable, and it's intermittent, so it's not constant. If it becomes constant, then it becomes a problem.
I mean, if we want during the next break, I can click over to the ESPN channel and just see if that gets rid of the problem. We don't have to stay on it, but just get over to it and see if it fixes the problem.
That would eliminate one possibility. So, yeah, let's do that.
All right. So next break, just remind me.
Warning.
check this out.
Your unofficial Rob Brown lockdown.
Represents being real. Yeah.
Real, unfiltered sports talk. Manufactured locally for the Carolinas.
Lockdown!
This is the Rob Brown Show.
Yeah.
Only on ESPN.
ESPN Upstate.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. The Rob Brown Show is right here on your radio. 97.7 FM Greenville, 97.1 FM Spartanburg, all around the world. On the Odyssey app this hour, going to be jam-packed stuff to get into. We'll start formally, officially, thoroughly breaking down the NBA playoff bracket. That's coming up in just a few minutes. We'll take a look at the first match. We briefly touched on it in the last hour, but the Preds and the Hurricanes, Carolina and Nashville, getting at it tonight in round one, game number one of the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs. We're going to jump into that. The Olympics under an even bigger threat. I said last week, I thought the Olympics might be under threat, and now they may even be at a higher threat level than we were 3 days ago, the last time that we talked on the air. And I'm surprised. I'm not entirely surprised, though I am a little bit disappointed, Lonzo, because it's one thing. We talked about the cancellations and everything from last year of sports, right? The cancellation of the NBA up until they decided to go into the bubble, the shortening of the MLB season, and all the interesting ways that different organizations had to fight through the pandemic. But it is just going to be painful for those of us that are fans of the Olympics, of which I am absolutely one. It is going to be painful as fans of the Olympics if we lose these Olympics this year, predominantly because there is a path to having them, and it's just a bunch of bureaucrats failing that are going to prevent us from getting there. The reality is there is an easy path to get through into the Olympics, but there is one group of people, one group of bureaucrats that are failing to make that path walkable for the Olympic athletes, and it has led to a point where roughly 3/4 of the Japanese population do not, and understandably so. I want to be abundantly clear on this topic, Lonzo. I am not upset with the Japanese citizenship that don't want the Olympics to take place. I'm not upset with them. I understand. I get it. If we were in a spot where we were continuing to issue states of emergency, if we were in a spot where we were unable to get vaccines rolled out efficiently to the folks that want one, and therefore, if not reduce the likelihood of a massive breakout, at least create a situation where the folks who do not want the vaccine, it is your own decision to not take it. The path is there. There are countries around the world that are jumping up to make sure that their citizens can go back to normal. We are one of them. And here we have the Japanese government sitting on their thumbs, preventing the easy path from being walked. It is frustrating, Lonzo, because it is just a small number of people that are making the situation more difficult than it needs to be. And that is coming from somebody who has gotten the vaccination, repeatedly wore the mask up until the point the CDC said vaccinated people don't have to, took the precautions that were put into play, was very cautious with it, still got the coronavirus. Fortunately, it did not impact me. But, it's frustrating, Zoe, that they haven't walked the easily walkable path to create a situation where the Olympics could go on safely. And now 75% of the Japanese population don't want them to happen. If the world's games are taken away because one red tape laden government couldn't get out of their way, Lonzo, I am going to be wildly disappointed by that.
Well, in the end, a different country governs the way they do, and there's not a whole lot we can do about it. But quit being completely negative because they haven't been called off yet, and it could still happen. Rays of sunshine and stuff. Come on, Rob.
Big old freaking ray of sunshine is Lonzo. Just the optimist that optimists aspire to be is the great one. Look, I'm a positive guy, and I attempt to stay positive as often as possible. I don't think that, and Joseph Bright over on our live stream at facebook.com/ESPN Upstate, twitter.com/The Rob Brown Show, and search The Rob Brown Show on YouTube, said, quote, Japan had to know a couple of months ago they weren't likely to have things under control in time to host the games. Feels to me like if we can't host it, nobody will situation, end quote. And Joseph, I don't know, right? Because 6 months ago, when this possibility started to come into reality, that Japan may not be in a position that they would be able to pull off the Summer Olympics, there were other countries, I want to say the USA included, that were like, well, if y'all can't, we will. We got the facilities. They may have to spread it out a bit more than we normally do, but we have the facilities to make this happen. And the Tokyo Olympic Committee, the International Olympic Committee, and the other governing bodies in charge said, nope, Japan's got this. We're going to be fine, et cetera, et cetera. Here's the thing. The IOC and the Tokyo Olympic Committee are both still committed to making the Olympics happen. They are still pushing for it to happen. And I guess this is part of the frustration. Part of the frustration for me personally is that the Olympic committees want this to happen. They are still pushing to have the Olympics go forward. They are still pushing to have the Olympics take place in their regularly scheduled time slot. It is not the Olympic committees that are causing the problem. It'd be one thing if it was the IOC or the Tokyo Olympic Committee that was creating the issue here, but it's not. It's the Japanese government. And Zo said, look, they govern differently than we do. And look, I'm not trying to step on sovereignty here. I'm not trying to criticize an entire government here, but they have millions and millions of unadministered doses of the vaccine sitting in freezers in hospitals that they could be giving out, even if you did it as we have done on a choose to take it basis, right? If you have chosen, that's why in fact yesterday I had a conversation with another fan at the Triumph match. We were talking about, you can't assume that everybody in this building or any sports facility right now is vaccinated. And I'll tell you, I'm kind of gotten to a point with sports now where I'm like, you know what? Open it back up. Open it back up. Let's go full-fledged. And the reason I'm at that spot, it came right after last week when the CDC said vaccinated people don't need to worry about masks anymore, right? The chances that you are infected is like 97% not going to happen. And the more vaccinated people around you, the higher that percentage of you not getting infected goes. And if you elect not to get the vaccine, as is your right, a right that I support and endorse, then you understand the risk and the consequences that you will face if it gets sideways for you. But it's your choice, and it's not that difficult to get a vaccine at this point. You just got to call Walgreens, and they'll get you hooked up on the spot, right? I was at the Braves game last Saturday. You can get vaccinated at the game, right there. They had a truck right there. You go get your vaccination, and the Braves give you a free game ticket to a future game if you did it. If Japan just followed the model, I'm not saying mandate them. I'm saying if you just opened it up to where the vaccine's available to people who want it and wanted to go get it, then this number would drop 75%. And see, at some point, Lonzo, and I said this back in the first hour, at some point, there are going to be representatives within the Japanese government that are going to say, hey, I was not put here to help the Olympic Committee. I was put here to govern by the will of the people. And it's one thing for a few 100,000 signatures to show up and say, we don't want the Olympics. It's another thing for 75-ish% of the Japanese people to say, we do not want these Olympics here. At some point, some level of government is going to step up and go, we're not giving any money. We're not giving any permits. We're not going to give you the clearance because our people do not want them. And our people, correctly, are more important than the Olympic Games. And the issue I have is that it was so preventable. It didn't have to get to this point. The red tape prevented us from getting to a point where here we are, a month and 2 weeks away from kickoff of the World's Games, and the red tape stopped us from getting it done. I am optimistic, Lonzo. I'm ride or die with you on the optimism train, man. I am. You are the conductor. I'm the guy shoveling coal. We are the optimism train, just the breezing through. But unfortunately, the realist in me is just kicking me in the back, going, wait a minute. You know, if 75% of people don't want something to happen, more often than not, that thing's not going to happen. And I am worried that item number one on the lunch breakdown anytime in the next couple of weeks, Lonzo, is going to be, ladies and gentlemen, item number one, the Olympics are canceled.
All right, so I disagree with you on this last thing. The percentage of people doesn't really matter if the powers that be are not consulting the people on whether they do it or not. And so, I'm getting that they don't want it to happen. Doesn't mean the guys in charge are going to care one bit that they don't want it to happen or not. I think they're going to try to make it happen, and I believe they're going to make it happen. And people can be upset about it, but they want this thing to go on. It's going to go on.
We're going to find out. The money is not. I mean, look, the money is a consideration. We'd be silly to say that it's not, but the money's not going to be there in these Olympics like it ordinarily is, and that is really, I think, the big difference between this and any other year. All right, 844-477-3776, 844-GSP, ESPN is the number. When we come back here in just a moment from right now, Greenville triumph, Union-Omaha yesterday in a big match between last year's champions and runners-up. How did it turn out? What was it like in the stadium? And what was the result? I'll give you all of that when we come back next on the Rob Brown Show. It's ESPN Upstate.
Harley.
The Rob Brown Show. Listen on your computer and tablet at ESPNUpstate.com.
Your Upstate Harley dealer is Harley Davidson of Greenville. And if you have been on the look for your perfect time to get yourself a new 2021 Harley Davidson, well, now is the time, ladies and gentlemen. Bring your rig to 30 Chrome Drive. Put it towards a trade-in of a new 2021 Harley, and Upstate Harley is going to give you up to 120% of your NADA trade-in value. 120% of NADA trade-in value towards a new Harley-Davidson model, and the 2021s have the new paint schemes, the new finishes, the new gadgets and gizmos that make them only Harley-Davidsons. And keep in mind, this month is Ladies Month, all the way through the end of the month. If you purchase one ladies accessory or apparel, you will get 25% off the second item in celebration of Ladies Month. And on top of all of that, they have the largest pre-owned inventory in the entire Upstate. Ladies and gentlemen, over 150 pre-owned bikes are ready for you. Check out their beautiful showroom at 30 Chrome Drive, or see the entire inventory online at upstateharley.com. That's upstateharley.com. It's Harley Davidson of Greenville.
All right, so several different things. By the way, it's getting worse. So disconnect from this and lock in on ESPN. Let's see if it does it.
Check 1 2 2 2 2 2 2 3 4 5.
All right, yell.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages.
All right. Tell me why I should watch soccer when they have ties.
Tell me why you should watch soccer when they have the thing that gets lost in translation so often is the winner and the loser of a game versus the artistry of the game being played, right? Like, this is the problem that the NFL and baseball have gone into.
All right. It's still doing it, but not as much.
Not as much on this channel.
And now it's doing it again. So you might as well lock back into the other one. The other suggestion that Robert has is for you to turn everything else off, which would mean you'd have to turn off the StreamYard.
Turn off the StreamYard?
Yeah, I don't know if that's going to fix it, because if that's pulling from the internet, but you okay. Okay. So that's his suggestion. He can also reboot it here, but I don't know if that fixes it. But I mean, we can try that too in the next break.
Got to do what we got to do, I guess.
But ultimately, when we're done, just reboot your router, and maybe that'll fix it. Who knows? The other thing is, I guess we'll find out when Mark does his show. If he has the same problem, then we'll know it's on this end and not on your guys' end.
I wonder if we don't have him, like, just text him and tell him go ahead and connect right now and, like, just give us 3 minutes.
I mean, we could do that, but chances are he won't be near his phone, or he won't. I mean, they'll just. I mean, I'm not trying to act a certain way. I just know that he's busy, and a lot of times he won't even pay attention to it. And if we get him out of his rhythm, it might mess up the rest of his day. We wouldn't want to do that. I hate technical problems that we can't figure out.
No
30 seconds.
And says, if you can screw with Mark Ryan, I say you do it. Beautiful.
Is wanted.
Well, opinions are like, we'll say, everybody has one.
Call 844-GSP-ESPN. Local sports talk on the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate.
Rob Brown Show back on your radio. This is ESPN Upstate. Rob and Lonzo and you. 844-477-3776 is the number. 844-GSP-ESPN. Texas 71307. By the way, still taking your nominations for our Salute to seniors. We are paying homage to the senior class of 2021. We are asking you to help us celebrate your graduating seniors who have gone through so much these last couple of years. We are asking for high school administrators, teachers, parents, and classmates to send your nominations. Go to our website at espnupstate.com, espnupstate.com, and right there on the front page, you'll see a button that says Nominate Your High School Senior. We, along with Benson Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, and Greer Healthy Blue and Old South Trading Company, are asking for you to submit your seniors, what they've accomplished in and out of the classroom, on and off the field of play this year, so that we can give them the tribute that they have rightfully earned through two of the most interesting years that high schoolers have had to go through in decades. They have put in such tremendous hard work to be successful through their senior year, and now we want to honor our high school seniors in the upstate. All you have to do is go to espnupstate.com, espnupstate.com, submit your senior, and we will make sure that they get honored the way that they deserve to be. Go to espnupstate.com, espnupstate.com, and our 2021 salute to seniors. All right. Yesterday, Legacy Early College, your Greenville triumph up against Union-Omaha. Of course, Union-Omaha, the team last year that ended up as runners-up in the USL League One. And this is a rivalry game. All right, this is escalated into a rivalry game. There was an absolute war going on between Triumph fans and Union-Omaha fans in this matchup. And the match itself was everything we thought it was going to be. The Triumph remain undefeated through their first four. The first ever nationally televised League One match ends up in a 1-1 draw. A second half equalizer out of Union-Omaha ended up sending them home with an equal 1 point as well. Marios Lomas, once again, his fourth goal in 4 games. The young man has come to the upstate to play, scored the lone goal in their Sunday afternoon matchup, who has scored in all 4 Triumph matches so far. It was a fast, exciting start. Another COVID capacity sold out crowd at Triumph Stadium at Legacy Early College. Both sides had a number of chances in the first half. 6 shots for both attacks opening. Greenville saw the majority of the opportunities toward the end of the first half after the Lomas goal, but they were unable to find another one. A lot of good transition play out of the Greenville Triumph, which was exactly what we wanted to see. The momentum switched, however, after halftime. Omaha's attack picked up, and after a near deflection trying to clear a Devon Boy shot on goal, Omaha awarded a corner kick, and in the redirect found an unmarked Nick Firmino at the top of the box. His half volley was buried past Dallas J, who had a phenomenal match as well, into the back of the net. And that was all the difference to give them that 1 point. Greenville did have an opportunity at around the 41st minute inside of Union-Omaha territory. There was a throw in from the player side of the pitch. It was redirected onto the goal by Dom Smart, threw in a little header. It would go just over the crossbar. And a couple of times, Greenville was able to find the crossbar. If the goal was 3 inches taller or 3 inches wider, it probably is a 3-1 game when it's all said and done. Little bit of fatigue that clearly showed up. And it was it wasn't hot out, but it was one of the warmer games so far. And the conditioning kicked in for both teams. And you saw the match slow up just a little bit late in the game. Now the Triumph find themselves at 3-1-0, same record for Union-Omaha. 12 shots in total for Greenville, 3 of them on goal, 3 corners, 1 save required from an on-goal shot from Dallas J. They also committed 5 fouls. Omaha, 11 shots, just 2 of them on goal, 1 finding its mark, 1 corner, a couple of saves, and 16 fouls awarded to Greenville, committed by Omaha in that one. It was the game we expected it to be. It was the match that we expected it to be. Lomas was, as he has been all season, in the right place at the right time to net one for Greenville. The momentum was squarely in favor of the Triumph until a couple of minutes into the second half. Omaha took it back. They were rewarded with a goal to equalize. From the stands, it was exactly what we wanted the game to be. It was high intensity. It was electric. The fans were fantastic. I sat in the supporter section for the entire game. Shall we say, elusive Mark Ryan made his way into the supporter section as well at one point. And I got to tell you, Zoe, the otherwise stoic Mark Ryan, I may have looked over a time or two and seen Mark Ryan jumping up and down with the cheers and the chants. I have one more person over to the Triumph Nation, Lonzo, and I got to tell you, you're next, man. You're next. I'm going to get you in there like I did him, and I'm going to get you on board like I did him. I promise you.
As far as that goes, you can't take credit for Mark Ryan being a Triumph fan because he was already talking to them. I know, because I was present when he was doing it. I mean, you could try to take credit, but I am curious about one thing, though. If you've seen him at a game alone, does he cheer as much? Because maybe there's a little show going on. That's all I'm saying. Maybe just a little bit.
I have not seen him at a game alone. Well, that's not true. I saw him at the last home match alone. But I did not see him during the game. I bumped into him at halftime, shockingly for both of us, at the food truck, because obviously he was not alone yesterday. He brought the young lady in his life, which I know we can talk about now, because he featured her on the ESPN Upstate Facebook page.
More than once. Yeah. More than once. I mean, I'm just saying that's neither. I could care less. I mean, good for him.
I know Brent Baird's Friday segments in which he brings love letters from the women of Florida to Mark Ryan may have come to its conclusion as the most eligible bachelor in the Upstate is out of the game in Mark Ryan now.
I hope not, because seeing Mark Ryan blush is a fun thing. I haven't been able to see it in a year, but yeah, it's a fun thing to watch.
I don't disagree. But no, he was into it, man. And I know he was a soccer guy before. He and I have watched some U.S. soccer games.
All right. In all honesty, I was just trying to give him some credit before I slammed him.
Okay. No.
Yeah.
Feel free to slam away. I am here for it.
And as far as getting me there, you offered me a ticket early on, and I couldn't go because I was otherwise obligated, or I might have went. And I did watch the first half, and I DVR'd it, watched the first half, and I had intended to watch the second half until I saw what the score was, and there's no way that I was watching the second half after that.
Are you one of those, I don't want to watch a game that ends in a tie?
Yes, I absolutely. You know what? And I'm not using the voice that you use, which I don't know if you're attempting to, or that just maybe that guy voice, not
that guy voice,
not necessarily directed at me. No, I don't want to watch something that ends in a tie. I do not. And as far as, I'm not anti-soccer. Soccer will never be my favorite sport. It won't be up there ever. But it's not like the way I feel about country music, where, when a certain commercial plays, I feel like my skin's going to crawl. It's not like that. I will go to a soccer game. I enjoyed watching because I was curious about what the field looked like. I was curious about the stands. That looks like a really, really nice place. And I think Greenville represented well. And it's really cool to, a place where we broadcast, area we live in, to see it on national TV and show up well.
Oh, they showed out. We absolutely showed out. I was very pleased. As far as the I won't watch games that end in a tie guy, of which I have just learned Lonzo is one, ladies and gentlemen. Here's what I'll say to that. The enjoyment of watching a game is what I'm after, right? Like, I understand because none of our sports have that. I understand.
Wait. You're not going participation, are you?
Going participation?
Participation trophy, because that's the direction that it sounds like you're going. No. You play to win the game. That's what you do. You absolutely do. Yeah. And if you can't win the game, it's like we were out there for 90 plus minutes for nothing.
No, that's not true. That's not true.
Well, you got some cardio in. I mean, so there's that.
So the thing is, you walk away from a soccer match with 3 points, 1 point, or no point, right? You walk away with 3 points for a win. Each team walks away with 1 point for a tie or a draw. And you walk away with no points if you get beat. So you're out there competing, and 1 point is better than no points, right? We have seen plenty of races that have come down to the end of the year, and one team gets the nod into the playoffs because they had one more point, which is one successful draw that ended up winning them the match. I understand, but soccer isn't the record in soccer isn't kept by like it is in football, your wins, ties, and losses. It's kept by the number of points: 3 for a win, 1 for a tie number. And the artistry of any game is in watching the athletes do what they do with their by executing their art, right? Like, I can watch Steph Curry go out and knock down 13 3-pointers in a game, and even if the Warriors lose a game and Steph knocks down 13 3-pointers, we don't go, well, that was a waste of time watching Steph bury all those threes and set more NBA records. We go, man, that was a hell of a game even if they lost, right? Like, we look for the artistry.
No. You see this we thing, and I'm sure there are some we to go along with you, but don't include me in that we. I want a victory. I do not want
so you don't
a tie.
care what happens on the field. You only care. So then why even watch sports? Why not just watch at the end of the day
because Rob,
and be done with it?
Because Rob, most sports end with a victory.
Right, but I'm saying if all you care about is the victory, if all you care about is a victory, then there's no point in even watching the games, right? You just need to see who won at the end of the day. All that matters is one team had more points. Who cares how they got them?
The journey only matters if there's a W at the end.
There was a W at the end of last year when the Greenville Triumph were holding the USL League One championship.
I have something else, and this is nothing against Greenville Triumph because Dallas J seems like a really cool dude. And Harks, he's been in studio before, and if you cross that guy, he looks like he could get pretty angry. I've seen him. I've seen that intensity in the studio, so I don't want to make him mad. But tying's ridiculous. It's just absolutely ridiculous. And here's the other thing is, so you can't call yourself undefeated because you have half a loss.
No, you are undefeated.
No. A tie is half of a win and a half of a loss.
No, a tie is a tie.
No, it's half of a win and half of a loss because it's 50. It's right down. Yeah, but it's right in the middle. It's half of a win and half of a loss. And absolutely what a tie is.
Even by that logic, then you weren't fully defeated. Ergo, you are undefeated.
No. You have a half a loss. That means you're not undefeated.
Lonzo, I'm gonna get you there, buddy. I'm gonna get you there. It's a matter of time. I promise.
So when you say you're going to get me, do you mean vengeance, or you mean you're going to get me to come to the game?
No, I'm going to get you to come to a match.
Okay.
You're gonna love it. I'm telling you. I'm going to get you in section one.
Listen, atmosphere looked great. I'll have to judge the food for myself because that's always a plus in the stadium. Stadium looks really good, so you can get me to come to a game. But if I come to a game and it ends in a tie, you'll never get me back there again.
You're missing out.
So do what you got to do. Pump the team up. Whatever. When I'm coming, they need to know that they need to win.
So I need to pick a match against the team at the bottom of the table.
Oh no, that's not necessary. They won the champ.
I need to handicap a match.
They won the championship last year, so I mean, chances are they're going to be favored in any game they play. They need that little extra in there to know Alonzo's coming. We need to win today.
All right. So you come and they win and you have a good time. Are you coming back for the next one if the next one's a tie? Or is it just Lonzo only shows up for dubs? He's just better than us.
I don't know about the better than us thing, but I do only show up for dubs.
A 444. You know what? That might be the new slogan of the show right there. We show up for dubs. 844-477-3776, 844-GSP, ESPN is the number to be a part of the program. When we come back here in just a minute, had a UFC event over the weekend, some drama out of that we will talk about, and another chapter in the John Jones saga as Dana White has now spoken out. We'll get some MMA discussion in here coming up on the Rob Brown Show with ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show. Listen on your Amazon or Google smart speaker. Just say, play ESPN Upstate. The Ingalls Market Studio. This is ESPN Upstate.
By the way, Mark just sent out the vacation schedule. I was going to tell you that I'm on vacation June 7th, the week of June 7th.
Okay.
So you'll see it on there, and it'll be Drew filling in for me.
Perfect.
So I'm going to have to deal with Cole. Gosh.
So are you a save your vacation up and go in spurts guy? Like, do you have a preferred time you like to go on vacation?
First of all, I would like to say I absolutely love Cole, and that was sarcasm. Second of all, don't want to get back to him. I mean, since I've been here forever, I can take a vacation a quarter, which I like to do. I have also been known to eat days because of no backup. So, I mean, especially lately. But we usually go on one trip. Everything else has been, I always take a spring vacation to do yard work. I know it's weird, but I do because I enjoy the yard work. And then we usually go to the beach. And then I take the week of Thanksgiving and the week of Christmas because I reached that point in seniority where I can do that. And then I have a floating week. I know you're trying to figure out how there's an extra week. Well, it's because I'm clever. And we get 2 days off plus 2 personal days. If you take a vacation on a week where there's a holiday, you get an extra vacation day. Hence, you can have 5 weeks off.
I don't hate it. I usually save all my vacation days for towards the end of the year.
Well, obviously I do a little bit because of taking the week of Christmas off, but I can't take too many days off in a row, or I'm actually doing some work from home because of, it's not bragging. It's just the truth. I just have a lot of stuff that I do. So what you're saying is the month of December, you won't be here. That's what I'm getting out of it.
No. Yeah.
Well, I won't be here for parts of it too. So.
Did you watch UFC on Saturday?
I did not.
Have you seen the arm break?
No, and I don't want to.
It's bad.
I heard about it, but yeah, I'm not interested in that. I saw the Weidman thing way too many times. I didn't want to.
Yeah.
I'm with Daniel Cormier. Someone else can watch it. I don't need to watch it again. No. And I don't know if I always was that way, but I think after I broke my knee, things just became a lot more real to me.
Oh, yeah.
30 seconds.
Text us anytime at 71307. Use keyword ESPN followed by your comment. Local sports talk on the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate.
Yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen. Rob Brown Show is on your radio. This is ESPN Upstate. Great to be with you. I am Rob Brown. The pleasure's mine. Thanks so much for...
Hey, Rob. Hey, Rob, don't you think this would be a song that Baron Zemo would dance to?
The moves like Jagger. The moves like Jagger. I gotta go back and watch that again. UFC. There was an event over the weekend, but it was the comments from Dana White afterwards that kind of got my attention. John Bones Jones, who has been demanding one of the biggest payouts in the history of the UFC in order to fight Francis Ngannou, and Dana White has said no, repeatedly has said no, is holding his line, is Dana White, keeping a firm stance on arguably the greatest fighter in the history of the MMA. Dana White, during the UFC 262 post-game press conference, said that the UFC is happy to move on with or without Jones. He said, quote, "Listen, that's up to John Jones whether he wants to fight or not. There are fights available. They're here. I'm going to keep making fights every weekend, doing fights. If John Jones wants to fight, he can. If he doesn't, he doesn't have to. Nobody's going to force John Jones to fight. He's had a great run. He's got an incredible legacy. I personally see him as the GOAT right now. You've got guys that are nipping at his heels like Usman and some other guys out there. You know, it's up to him. He can fight this summer or he can never fight them. I mean, that's up to him." And those comments came right after he said that the former heavyweight champ Stipe Miocic will get a shot at the winner of the heavyweight title fight between current champ Francis Ngannou and Derek Lewis. The original plans called for Jones to challenge Ngannou in his divisional debut, but that has fallen by the wayside as Jones has continued to hold out for a heavier payday if that fight is going to happen. It has resulted in a very public feud between John Jones and Dana White, which is absolutely of zero shock to me. We know neither one of those guys is going to budge away from the other one. And at this point, it wouldn't be fair to say that I'm not a little concerned that we won't get any of these fights because both of them have too much pride on the line at this point. But Dana, though, says that Stipe is back in line for the winner of the Ngannou fight against Derek, and that John Jones can elect to fight if he wants to or not, but that they are not going to stop the UFC and wait for him, which of course they're not. They can't. But I will tell you, if the pride of these two big-headed clowns gets into a spot where we don't get to see John Jones make his fight against Ngannou or Derek, whoever ends up winning that fight, it will be a massive disappointment to UFC fans.
I just don't believe any of this because it's one big hype machine, back and forth, always. And in the end, almost always you see the fight you want to see. Maybe not right away, but you see it eventually. And I just want whoever is capable of beating John Jones to be the guy that he fights. That's all I care about, because I'm one of those guys that wants to see him lose. And there are a ton of people who want to see him win. If he can keep himself clean, he'll be back in there fighting somebody. And he's bulking up for a reason to take that belt, and he wants to get there. And the thing is, though, he's going to have to fight his way into it. And he's going to have to get past his pride and get past his ego and get past, I'm John Jones, I fight who I want to fight when I want to fight, because it doesn't work that way.
I am usually in hefty agreement of it's a hype train, right? Usually I agree with you. But the thing about the hype train when it takes place between fighters is that, look, at some point, these two guys are going to square up. At some point, they're going to square up in the octagon or the ring, and it's going to happen. There's no payoff here for either. If Dana White drops his pride, then he's got to pay John Jones $30 million, a purse that has never been paid before by the UFC, and that becomes the norm.
And plus, how ridiculous is it in sports in general when we're just now starting to get fans back, and it's not at full capacity, and it's probably going to be a while before things are how they were, if they're ever that way again, to ask for that much money. You got to consider what's going on around you before you ask for that amount of money, or it's just a negotiating tactic where you go in and you ask for more than you know you're going to get, and you start scaling back. So what is the number? Is it 25? Is it 20?
And that's a good point. I mean, it may very well be John Jones negotiating to try to get a $24 million paycheck instead of 19 or 17 or whatever the traditional number is for a fight like this. That might be correct. That being said, I do have to wonder if it is negotiation. Are there talks going on behind closed doors that we are not privy to? And there's the possibility that it's happening. But the fight game is notoriously pretty bad at keeping those numbers secret, right? They're notoriously pretty bad for having those negotiations get out into the public eye, mainly because that's a negotiation tactic too, right? Like Bones could have somebody in his camp go out and give the numbers that UFC actually offered and vice versa. So it's not really like there's likely to be some big time negotiation going on behind the scenes where they're actually trying to come to terms. I think we've hit an impasse here where either Dana White has to give in to John Jones or John Jones has to give in to Dana White. And either way, one of them has to take a hit to the pride in a very public way, right? John either has to take $10 million less than he has said he will fight for, in which case he basically is acknowledging I'm not worth what I have been saying for months and months that I am, or Dana's got to go out and say, we're going to give him the 30 mil to get this fight going, in which Dana's got to say, hey, John Jones is bigger than the UFC right now. He is bigger than the game itself, which he is not going to do. I think you end up in a spot where you got two guys that are letting their pride ultimately dictate the discussion of a fight that UFC fans want to see. And I think both of them are so firmly entrenched in their position that it would take a hit to the pride to come out of that foxhole and try to find some common ground in the middle, Zoe. And unfortunately, I think it's folks like you and I that want to see that fight that are going to suffer for it. 844-477-3776. Text us on the Ingles Market text line at 71307. Quick break. We're back after this on the Rob Brown Show. This is ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show.
1 minute.
1 minute.
Lockdown on Twitter. Tweet at The Rob Brown Show on the Upstate Sports Leader, ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. This is ESPN Upstate. Rob, Lonzo, you be a part of the show at 844 GSP ESPN 844-477-3776, the number to be a part of the program. Text us on the Ingles Market text line at 71307. Start your text with ESPN so we can read them on the air. A couple of texts that have come through on the text line at ESPN. Hey, Rob, speaking of college baseball, how about the Wofford Terriers? Can't wait to see the Wofford v. Furman game. Oh, wait, sorry. Oh, dude. Low blow, texter. Low blow. The Wofford-Furman rivalry is going to come to blows at some point. At ESPN, Mark won't go into sports detail like you, Rob. We can bank on that. Too busy getting Clemson and Carolina fans ticked off about unimportant topics. Wow. The text line is all up feeling itself this morning, Zoe, or this afternoon. Feeling itself. At ESPN, we are bigger soccer fans than most. EPL wife from Liverpool. You will never convince a win-loss fan to soccer. They can't see the big picture, end quote, Lonzo. I think he's talking about you.
Yeah, that's me. No big picture views here.
I mean, that was your words, not well, it was actually the texter's words, not mine, but you know what I mean. Yeah, I just, like I said, the to me, the artistry of the game is in how it's played. I think it's in how it's played. You want to watch how guys develop runs and scoring threats, et cetera, et cetera. That's why I love the beautiful game. One of many
You
reasons.
play to win the game.
You play to win championships, Herm. Quick break. We're back right after this. I'm Rob. He's Lonzo. You're listening to The Rob Brown Show. You're listening to ESPN Upstate, y'all.
ESPN Stay. Warning.
Hey, check this out.
For an official
Charisma in the first break.
Represents being real. Yeah.
Real, unfiltered sports talk manufactured locally for the Carolinas.
Lockdown.
This is the Rob Brown Show.
Yeah.
Only on ESPN.
ESPN Upstate.
Rob Brown Show rolls on. It's ESPN Upstate, the third and final best of money out. Gets going right now. I am Rob Brown, the great Lonzo at that dad kicks, Colonel Grudge, conductor of the Symphony of Sound, the Alpha and the Omega, the content couch cow, back in the network studio. Join us on the live stream at facebook.com/ESPN Upstate, facebook.com/ESPN Upstate, on Twitter at The Rob Brown Show, or search The Rob Brown Show on YouTube. You go in that direction, you'll be able to watch the show and participate in the conversations both on and off the air with us, with Zoe and I, and with the other listeners, the other members of the Rob Brown Show Nation. Zoe, are you a fan when teams go ahead and claim blank nation as their like name, like, oh, we're the Red Sox nation, we're the Indians nation, whatever nation in question?
I'm fine with that. It isn't like they're, say universe or anything. I mean, who would say that?
Who would claim to be the master of a universe?
Yeah.
Especially somebody who definitely hasn't earned it. I don't know, man. Like I see that all the time. And I'm just like, I guess, but like, what rights and treaties do you have? What's your claim to sovereignty? So-and-so nation. I don't get what you're going for here.
Well, you can have, how many people have to be in said group for it to be considered a nation? Is it 3 or more? I'm not sure. I think it's probably a little more than that.
I love the like we're Raider Nation. I'm like, are you a nation though? Because I got to tell you, like, I've never seen the Black Hole before. I've never been to Vegas or previously Oakland. I have really, honestly, no interest in going to Oakland, to be honest with you, or Vegas to see it. I don't know, man. Raiders fans are the worst. And then I think they were kind of like the first ones that went with the Raider motif or the nation motif. And it's like, are you though? Are you a nation? Are you? All right, 844-477-3776. NBA playoff brackets are out. We start with a play-in game, and your Charlotte Hornets have made the play-in tournament, but because of the fact that they went 0-2 over the weekend, they needed to take one of the two in order to be bumped up at least to the 9th seed and host the 9-10 game. Instead, they give up a couple of games over the weekend. Both games had double-digit leads. Both games ate the L, and now they got to go on the road. They head out to the Midwest as they'll take on the Pacers in a 9-10 matchup. Winner moves on to face the loser of the 7-8 matchup. That would be Boston and Washington. The Wiz travel to Beantown. The winner of that will move on to be the 7 seed. The loser will then face the winner of the 9-10 game. The winner of that game will head into the 8th seed. The A seed get the dubious distinction of taking on the 76ers in round number 1, whereas the Brooklyn Nets await the winner of the 7-8 game that will go in as the 7 seed. We'll see how that plays out. Should be a very interesting one. Over in the West, San Antonio scratches their way into the number 10 seed in the play-in tournament. Memphis goes in as the number 9, so the Grizz will host the Spurs. The loser of that game done. The winner will then move on to face the loser of the LeBron v. Steph Curry Lakers Golden State 7-8 game. The loser of that game will drop down to play the winner of the 9-10 matchup, and the winner of that game will move into the 8th seed where they will take on the Utah Jazz. So out in the East, Philly, the 1 seed, Brooklyn wraps up the number 2. Milwaukee, Giannis and his Bucks are the 3 seed. The 4, how about the New York Knicks? Don't get me wrong, James Dolan still sucks and that organization's still terrible, but Julius Randle and co. dragging themselves into the 4th spot, they'll take on Trae Young and his 5th-seeded Atlanta Hawks, the number 5 seed, identical record to the Knicks in the 5 spot. The 6th seed are your Miami Heat. At one point looked like they were destined for a play-in. They end up jumping up over Boston, Washington, the Pacers, and the Hornets to grab the 6th seed. The 7th seed and 8th seed are still up for grabs. Over in the West, the NBA's best record and the overall number 1 seed belongs to the Utah Jazz. By the way, Lonzo, durability. What's that old phrase? Your best ability is your availability. There was one player from either conference's NBA All-Star team, one player who was able to play in every single game for his team, all 72 matchups. His name, Nikola Jokic, the big man at the helm for the Utah Jazz. It is no surprise that the MVP of the NBA this year, that the best player on that team, and the only all-star to play all 72 games, Lonzo, it is no surprise at all that his Utah Jazz have the best record in the National Basketball Association. He earned it. They earned it. Zoe, if you're not a Nugs fan right now, you got to be a fan of Nikola Jokic. The dude is a machine for his Jazz this year.
It is shocking that you talked about him playing in every single game. It's unheard of, someone his size being able to do that. I mean, especially with load management and things like, and guys like that, they get hurt a lot. People that size, and the fact that he played in all of them, and so there was only one guy to do that.
Only one all-star to do it. There were a couple others around the league, but he is the only one of that caliber, of that level, of that VIP importance to his team that was able to pull it off.
You get the feeling that this year maybe a team's going to win where people don't know a lot of the guys on the team. That it's not a super all-star.
There is a distinct possibility. I'm looking at, like I said, I'm looking at the Phoenix Suns. I'm really intrigued by Phoenix. I'm looking at a Phoenix team with Booker out there. CP3, Chris Paul have been talking all year about how that guy has been underappreciated, undervalued. He deserved more than he had been getting. And here we are with the Phoenix Suns up towards the top of the West, and they've really got a chance to do something special. I don't think you're wrong. There's a chance that some guys that maybe aren't household names might step in this year and do some damage in the playoffs, and I'd like to see it. It's more fun that way.
Well, how are they going to TV promo it though when they don't have those big names? I mean, Jokic is a star for guys who follow the NBA, but casual fans may be like, who? And you see him up on the screen and still be like, who?
I think you're right, and it kind of perturbs me a little bit, Zoe, because I told you what was it, 3 weeks ago? I told you, Zoe, that I thought Nikola Jokic was going to be your NBA MVP this year. And if he's not the guy, I don't know who the hell would be, and I don't know why anybody else would be. If you, at this point, don't know who Nikola Jokic is, I don't want to be a jerk, but it's kind of on you, because the dude is an absolute legend in what he's doing. He is, I would argue, he is arguably the best passing big man that the NBA has had in years, and he has carried these Denver Nuggets to be where they are now, and he deserves to be mentioned. Without a doubt, he deserves to be mentioned in the conversation of one of the best that we have gotten to see play the game in many, many moons. And on top of that, he did it. Remember, they did it without Jamal Murray for a good chunk of the season. They had to play without Jamal Murray, their star breakout player from last year, and it is because of Nikola Jokic that they have been in that position to be able to do it. I think you're right, Zoe. I think we're going to have some names this year that are going to be studs in these playoffs that maybe we have not heard of in the past.
With ratings being down, is that a good thing?
I don't know. I want to say yes. Like, as a basketball fan, I want to say yes. But I'll bet you right now, Zoe, the highest rated play-in game is going to be game one between the Lakers and the Warriors, right? Steph v. LeBron, winner goes on, loser goes into a do or die against Memphis or San Antonio, a pair of decent teams. I mean, Memphis was above 500 by 4 games. San Antonio was below it by, 6? I assume Memphis moves on out of that. And you've got a 9-8 matchup, do or die. But I'll bet you LeBron, out of the 6 play-in games, I will bet you that Steph v. LeBron is easily the highest television rated game. The NBA lives on its superstars. You wonder why the superstars get all the love. The NBA is sold on this. I think the NBA did it to itself, right? I think the NBA created the situation. They promote the superstars above the team. They promote the names above the team. And they basically created this monster where the NBA is a star-focused game and a team mentality second. I think that's why so many people were Spurs fans back in the day, right? They had the names. They had the Tim Duncans and the Manu Ginobilis and the Tony Parkers. They had the names, but they were a great damn basketball team. They were a great team. So has there been another great team outside of the San Antonio Spurs in the last couple of years? It's hard to say there is. I would say the Warriors are probably the closest we have to it. But let's be honest, nobody's watching LeBron v. the Warriors. They're watching LeBron v. Steph Curry, and let's see what these other teams are capable of doing alongside them. And I think they have, I think they've created their own monster in doing that. I think they've created their own monster to pull that off. And it ends with the NBA being in a kind of a ratings disaster the last couple of years that I don't think anybody can argue that they have been in. And now they find themselves in a spot where this play-in tournament, which should be, and I think will be exciting. I think it's going to be good. I'm a proponent of the play-in. I think it's got potential to be great. But they've created this monster where, if folks are only going to tune in to watch the superstars play, the regular playoff ratings, Lonzo, are absolutely going to take a hit, unfortunately, because of it, I think.
And what happens if the Lakers lose both games and they're out?
The NBA starts selling. It's time to crown a new king. As a marketing guy, as a branding guy, I think that's the point that the Lakers or that the NBA starts going. The king has been dethroned. Who is going to step up to take the crown, right? Is it going to be Steph Curry? Is it going to be one of the new kids? Can Jokic become the first true, genuine stud superstar big man that the NBA has had since Tim Duncan? Who's going to step up to carry that crown? I think is the only way they can sell it. And I think it'll work, Lonzo, to be honest with you. I mean, I'll tell you, I would be paying attention to find out who's the next guy to wear the crown instead of LeBron. But I think that's the way the NBA has to sell it at that point, right? Like, who's the guy that is going to take over the king's throne now that he has been dethroned? I don't know how else you do sell it, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, there probably is no other way, and I'm sure they're prepared either way, or you would think they would be.
Yeah, like I'm trying to think of how I would market an NBA playoffs that don't have the NBA. You don't have to like the guy, but LeBron is the NBA's biggest name, and I'm trying to think of how they would go and sell an NBA playoff that doesn't have their biggest name in it, and I'm kind of having a tough time coming up with a way to do it.
Well, the way to do it is just to go full on Brooklyn Nets.
Yeah, maybe. You turn it to the...
Which might be a mistake on their part, but there are 3 superstars on that team. So
There are. You might be right. You might be onto it there. It may very well have to be. Tune in to see what this version of the New York Nets or the Brooklyn Nets is capable of doing. I actually think that you might be onto it there, Zoe. You create the drama of Kyrie, Katie, James Harden, and then some other guys. Can one of them step up to be the NBA's next guy? And if you don't have one of them that can do that, Lonzo, the NBA might be in a little bit of trouble. But like I said, to me, the trouble comes in. They did it themselves. They're the ones that created this system. They're the ones that created this superstars get all the love system that now they have to put up with the failure if some of their bigger names end up not making into the tournament, which is a more than realistic don't make it deep into the tournament, which at this point is a more than realistic possibility could happen. 844-477-3776. Who do you guys like as the surprise in the playoffs? Who's the team that makes a run? I am intrigued last year. Remember, nobody was talking about the Miami Heat last year either, right? We weren't talking about the Heat last year either. And then the Heat went on a deep run in the East. Is there some sort of possibility that Miami could do the same this year? Milwaukee was expected to be a force out in the East this year. They end up in the 6th seed. In the 3 seed with a 46-26 record. There is some possibility that Giannis, the wheels could come off for the Bucks, but there's also the distinct possibility that Giannis could find a way to come over the hump. Maybe playing with lesser expectations is exactly what the doctor ordered for Giannis Antetokounmpo. Could the Bucks find themselves being the team that jumps up and shock some people this year? Strong possibility. Who's the team that we see deep surprising people in the NBA playoffs? Let's take a quick break. We'll come back. Got a couple of texts that have come in. We are back after this on the Rob Brown Show. It's ESPN Upstate.
Prisma.
The Rob Brown Show. Listen on your computer and tablet at ESPNUpstate.com.
Prisma Health, the official healthcare provider of your Clemson Tigers, of your South Carolina Gamecocks, and of your family. They want to be of your family. That's what they're here for. They provide the premier healthcare across the upstate. There's no other reason that the Tigers and the Gamecocks would come together, would end up in a situation where they agree on something if it wasn't for the health, safety, and well-being of their players. And Prisma Health offers the same resources to you and your family because they want to be your healthcare provider as well. Go to their website at prismahealth.org. Prismahealth.org. You go to their website, you are going to see the My Chart feature, which keeps all of your information together, collectively streamlined, so that you and your family and your doctor can have all that information at your fingertips. They have locations across the upstate and the Midlands so that there is a location that is convenient to you. And they offer those online visitations, those online appointments as well. So if you can't leave the house, if you're pressed for time, you can meet with your doctor right there on a virtual appointment so that it's easy. That's their goal. That's what they want for you. Check them out and see why they are the official healthcare provider for the Tigers and the Gamecocks, and they want to be the official healthcare provider for you and your family as well. Go to prismahealth.org to learn more. Prismahealth.org, the official healthcare providers of the Tigers and the Gamecocks. It's our friends at Prisma Health here in the upstate.
1 minute.
Oh
my God, a hipster! Bring him a microbrew, quick!
This is the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate.
Shocking, I know. I screwed up here. In the last segment, I was talking about Utah having the number 1 seed and brought up Nikola Jokic instead of Rudy Gobert, who is who I meant to talk about. And that's my bad. The defensive stud. And yes, I got called out by that, and I appreciate it. Thank you for keeping me honest. That was my bad. I'm looking at the entire bracket and trying to focus team by team, and that's on me. So sorry about that. Got it straightened out. A couple of texts on the Eagles Market text line at 71307 at ESPN. Let's see. Steph for MVP. Not a chance. It's gonna. Now, this is where I will talk about Jokic. That's your MVP. I told you 3 weeks. I love Steph, man. I'm a big Steph Curry guy. I love Steph Curry. I love his game. The dude is an artist with the basketball from beyond 3-point territory. I love watching the guy shoot. But the best passing big man maybe ever, a guy that has been there for the Nuggets, got them to a 47-25 record without Jamal Murray. Now they check it as the 3 seed. That's your guy right there. At ESPN, the NBA is fine. Think about it. You're talking about the bottom teams in the playoffs when the last team you've done that. It looks like that text cut out. Anyway, he says the NBA will be just fine. I think the NBA is just fine. I thought, like I said, I told you last year when the finals ratings came in and they looked awful. I thought it was, honestly, I thought it was an anomaly. I thought it was an anomaly. I think the NBA was going to rebound. I think the NBA was just unfortunately timed at the worst part of the lockdown. I also think, I think the NBA leaned harder into the social change narrative than any other sport. I think they knew the risk for that. I think there were a lot of folks. I think there were some folks who tuned out because of it. But I think that was a one-off thing, right? I mean, you've still got the NBA folks who are very much involved in that change, but the NBA has not leaned into the narrative as hard this year as they did last year. And I suspect there will be some folks that walked out last year that will make their way back this year into the NBA's ratings viewership. So, but I agree. I think the NBA is going to be fine. I'm just intrigued to see how they are going to address having LeBron and Steph Curry in a 7-8 matchup, right? Are they going to try to sell that as the best play-in tournament game of all, or the best playoff early entry of all time? I mean, how are they going to approach that? Neil texts in, I could watch the NBA playoffs if the Lakers and the most toxic professional athlete in LeBron James are eliminated. I bet ratings will soar. Yeah, I think, listen, I have no doubt there are going to be some people that will be more inclined to watch if LeBron James is not in the playoffs. I'm not naive. I got to tell you, though, I can think of probably 30 athletes that I would say are more, quote, toxic than LeBron James. James has opinions about politics away from basketball. He's a human being. He's one to do. I can think of a lot of guys who did a lot of worse than voicing an opinion on politics that weren't considered toxic to their league.
Yeah, but only one guy called out a cop, and yeah, only one guy did that. So, and was specific, and it was kind of threatening, and that has turned a lot of people off, including me. And I am no longer going to defend LeBron James, and I'm not sure I'm a fan anymore. It was just ridiculous.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. I respect that. I'm not on the same boat, but I respect it. I don't think LeBron James I think LeBron James got caught up in what was happening with the George Floyd trial. I don't think LeBron James threatened a cop. I think he said, "You're next," as in you're going to be held accountable. I think LeBron James misread the conversation. I think he jumped into
I think he's not smart enough to realize that you do something like that and you are putting someone in a compromising position. So in this case, if he captioned it differently, maybe it's a different story, but the way he did it, it was just ridiculous.
Yeah, like I said, I respect it. I saw it differently. I see it differently. I think I get what LeBron was trying to say. I think he worded it very poorly, but LeBron's not he's not a college English professor. All right.
But you also are judging intent, and you can't do that. We don't know what his intent was.
No, you're right. I don't think. Okay. I think we can judge intent because we're not a court of law, right? Like we are the court of public opinion. I think we can judge intent. I think a lot of people judge intent about a lot of things all the time. I think we can judge intent. I think LeBron James intended to say, you are next to be held accountable. I think he did not genuinely look into the situation of the shooting of that young lady. I think he jumped to a conclusion, which I'll tell you the truth, though, I think we're all guilty of. If you have never jumped to a conclusion of a situation, and especially done so emotionally during what was one of the most emotional weeks for these kids in a very long time, then good on you. I need life lessons from you because I've done it multiple times. The difference between LeBron and you and I is about 3 million Twitter followers, about half of whom are looking to tarnish this guy's image, name, reputation over any mistake that he makes. I think he's screwed up.
And a bunch of which who are stupid and looking for a reason to do something violent. So you need to be more careful with how you do and say things. And it's to the point where in the end, I'm just one guy, one fan, a fan who's been a fan of him his entire career. I haven't watched him play since. I will watch tomorrow night and I'll see how I feel. I'll see if I can still root or not, because I don't know.
Sure. I get it. I mean, again, I'm certainly not, I respect that decision, and I'm not saying you're wrong. I understand where you're coming from. We see it differently, and that's okay. Like I said, I think LeBron acted quickly on a situation he didn't understand. Whether or not LeBron, I didn't see it as LeBron inciting violence. I saw it as LeBron saying, you were next to be held accountable, because he was very emotionally caught up in the George Floyd trial, as so many athletes were. And that was it. And he made a mistake. I, as everybody is called on the show, I do my best to try to forgive when a situation calls for forgiveness. I can't always do it, but this one was kind of, it's a dumb thing, LeBron, but it is what it is. ESPN, exactly, Lonzo, he called out a cop. I'm also a lifelong Laker fan. Well, he did threaten the cop because held accountable for what saying the other girl's life. Your text got a little jumbled there, Neil. Again, I can see how saying you're next, but again, you're next what? You're next what? The day after, or was it 2 days after the George Floyd trial? He said, you're next. I read it as to be held accountable for overstepping your authority here. That's how I read it. And that's how I read it when the tweet dropped, not like apologetics later. That's how I read it when the tweet dropped.
Well, this you would say this is an old story, but it's not really old. Put yourself in a policeman's shoes when they see that, when they already are, they're already in a dangerous position. Well, now one of your own has basically been called out and could be taken as possibly a hit. Because it could definitely be taken that way. So, and again, I have family members who are policemen in Ohio, and it just bothered me.
Yeah, and I understand. So do I, though. So do I. I've got a bunch of family who are cops. I got a cousin in Louisiana. I got a cousin in Houston who's on the SWAT team there. One of my very dearest friends back in those counties is on the special response team. He's a SWAT team sniper. I got cops all over my family and friends list that and we've had these discussions.
You know what? I'm curious about something though. We have a message on the stream, and so you and I are having a calm discussion about something. And so I take it from the comment that I'm just being completely stupid in their opinion. And that's fine. I mean, we go on the air and we say things, and some people like them, some people don't. As long as you react one way or the other, that's all that matters. As long as you don't go, oh, great. That does nothing for me. When it comes down to it, I'm giving you my opinion about, how my heart sunk, about how I've been a fan of him ever since he came out of high school, and how disappointed I was. And fandom is something that you're not obligated to give. And fandom, you can lose your desire to be a fan in someone. And, and it doesn't necessarily have to be this sort of situation. It could be how they play on the field or the court. Eventually you may go, okay, that's just ridiculous. I can't take it anymore. So there are reasons to lose your fandom. And I haven't said I've lost my fandom yet. I just said I'm pretty close, and I'll find out tomorrow night. Sure. Will I find myself rooting? Will I not? And I'm just giving an honest opinion of how I feel about the situation. But Marvin saying that Mark didn't handle me doing this as well. It's just, I don't get it.
Yeah, well, I think he's saying that this is the type of conversation that.
Okay. Okay. All right. So maybe I am taking offense where I shouldn't.
Yeah, I think he's saying that this is the type of conversation that this is I think he's saying this is the way to handle this type of conversation, right?
Yeah, because
down to you're wrong, I'm right.
Yeah. Rob and I definitely are coming at this from two different angles, sure. And it doesn't mean one's right and one's wrong. Because in the end, this is about fandom to me, and my fandom's nearly gone. We'll find out.
Sure. Like I said, it is how you read what LeBron had to say. And look, like I said, as somebody who has a bunch of law enforcement officers in my family, and as dear friends of mine from around the country. I mean, I've got a fraternity text thread of fraternity brothers that I'm in right now. One's cop in Miami. You can see him on TV because every time there's one of the big PGA events down there, he works security. I've got one who's cop in Fort Lauderdale, is an investigator down there, dear friend of mine. One of my cousins just outside of New Orleans is a sheriff's deputy. I mean, I've got them everywhere. And for the premise of, if you are a cop, how did you read that? I understand that. But the other side I would ask you to be empathetic for is if you don't have to agree with this being a factual statement or not. But people like LeBron feel like law enforcement officers have exercised their authority in a different way for black people than for white people. And if you feel that way, and then you see this happen days after the Floyd trial, and you don't know the situation, which is the mistake LeBron made, can't you see how he would be frustrated, right? Like, we're only sympathizing with one group of people that were impacted instead of every person who feels that they were impacted. And I think that is the communication that we have to, as countrymen, all of us have to get better at listening and understand everybody, as opposed to just saying, Zoe's wrong, I'm right, or Rob's wrong, I'm right, and dismissing what the other half of the conversation.
He could have handled the aftermath better, and he did not. And he almost doubled down on what he said. So, I mean, he deflected and made it look like it's everybody else taking it wrong. But if you take it literally, I mean, at what he said, it could be taken as a threat. So,
but I think that's a spot where you are assigning. You are telling LeBron what LeBron meant instead of letting LeBron tell you what he meant.
Right. But you know what? You know what? When he finds out the outcry about it, you come back and you explain thoroughly what you meant. And then then it's up to other people. And in the end, it doesn't matter. I mean, to him, it probably doesn't matter, but you explain thoroughly what your intentions were, and that there was no threatening behind it. And you don't immediately blame people for taking it the wrong way. You think about, okay, I didn't think when I made this comment. I'm not thinking now while I'm putting out an explanation to this. You just explain what you were thinking and apologize to people who took it the wrong way, and then move on. But he didn't do that. He deflected and made it sound like, well, you guys are just looking at it wrong. You don't know how I feel. Okay. Your words have more power, more whatever behind them than the average person. A lot of people look to you, which they shouldn't, as a role model, because you're just an athlete. Even though LeBron does a lot of things, as far as yes, he does. He absolutely does. But one wrong thing can get rid of all that goodwill. It absolutely can. Should it? I don't know, but it can do that. He could have fixed the whole thing, and he didn't.
I understand where you're coming from. I get where you're coming from. It's a respectful disagreement, which I think is important. All right, let's take a break because we're way off the clock. Come back here, 1 segment left, and then Twitter Trending Topics to wrap it up. I'm Rob. He's Zoe. The Rob Brown Show's on the radio. It's ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show. Listen on your Amazon or Google smart speaker. Just say, play ESPN Upstate.
I love the number of people we get, Lonzo, that text in how they're a big fan, but then you have a conversation they don't like, and they're like, that's it, I'm never listening to you again. Like, you're a lifelong fan, but now suddenly, we had one text in a second ago that said, you should move on from this conversation or don't. Doesn't matter to me. I can just turn the dial. Not a day after he told us that he was a lifelong fan that listens to all 3 hours every day. Sensitive.
Well, the majority of, and there are some who say they're never coming back and they don't, but the majority of people who get ticked off, they come back.
Oh, yeah.
Is it a matter of routine? Is it a matter of like? I don't know. A lot of times I think it's just they're caught up in the moment, which is exactly what we were talking about being caught up in the moment. And then someone got caught up in a moment and texts and says, I'll never be back. Yeah, you will. Probably still listening right now. Just a reminder to reboot everything when you get done.
Yes, I'm going to reset my router. I'll get the Comrex rejacked, all that fun stuff.
By the way, I talked to the powers that be about what we were discussing Friday. I want to see if you remember about whether something is coming to Spartanburg or not. And they made it sound like it's very definite.
Oh, yes. Camp. That'd be sweet. Definite, like we would be able to go?
Definite, like they're coming. I mean, as far as us getting over there, we'll see. We've been able to do it every year, but, different circumstances with everything that's going on. And there still are restrictions, as far as I know, as far as remotes go, to the point where you could probably go, but I couldn't. We'll see. We still got a few months before that rolls around.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, because I really want to go. It scares me to death, and it's fun at the same time. So
scares you to death?
Because my biggest fear in life is interviewing people.
Oh.
Yeah. But I stand up to that fear, and I overcome. And I look really stupid sometimes, but I still go for it. Why not? One minute.
Sweet.
It's all my fault, Josh. I'm not sorry, though. 30 seconds.
Can't just be yelly fun all the time, Josh. Sometimes we got to get real. You know, like that lumberjack match last night. I went into that assuming Lonzo was going to lose it over the zombie lumberjack match.
Lose it in what way?
In like I loved it kind of way.
It was pretty funny, but I think it sets wrestling back a little bit. But, you know.
I love that like a week after.
Dispensing real, unfiltered sports talk every weekday noon to 3. This is the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate.
Oh, Lonzo. You know, a week after folks in the WWE start banging the drum. Oh, the blood and guts match at AEW set wrestling back 30 years. They're like, what should we do? Let's have a lumberjack match where all the lumberjacks are zombies. Like zombies. Like from the mind of Zack Snyder, legit Walking Dead zombies. The only thing that saved that match was the fact that
Come on.
Graves have so much zombie pop culture references he was able to keep going.
He was, but you know, Miz and Morrison both sold the fear. You know, you're either for cinematic matches or not. If it was cinematic, would you have been okay? If they were like out in a cemetery and it was a cemetery match and then suddenly the undead come out, would it have been okay? Then, I mean, listen, I'm not saying I hate it. I'm not saying I love it. It had moments which were kind of funny. And I kept thinking, wow, AEW is going to slam this. And the Jericho's already done that. So, which I can't blame him. But I was waiting for Miz to be a zombie when all the zombies were on top of him.
I thought when they
it's like, man,
when they pulled Johnny Drip over the barricade, he was going to come back out as one. In which case, I'd have been like, all right, this is pretty funny.
Yeah.
It was just like either commit to a zombie movie or don't half-ass it.
Yeah, if you're going to do it, do it. Yeah. I think at the end, if they're both zombies, it's better. It absolutely is better. And I agree with you. When Morrison got pulled over, I'm like, okay, they're doing makeup on him real quick. But if you look at the makeup, from that standpoint, the makeup was excellent on the zombies. It was really good.
I'm not complaining about the quality of the zombies. As zombies go, they were pretty high quality zombies. I'm just saying it doesn't like that only makes sense if you fully commit to it. And I just didn't feel like they did.
It's not the first time or the last time that wrestling will use a crossover to promote a movie and bring in a movie character, in this case zombies, to promote that movie, especially when it's starring one of their own in Dave Bautista.
I was genuinely more offended at Lance Archer shooting the Archer arrow into the sky, and instead of his name, up pops a title card for the movie that this match is promoting. Like it for a feud that you had been setting so long up as like a genuine, serious, old school wrestling feud, it just didn't really feel time or place. You know what I mean? Like it just felt out of place.
But at the same time, I forgot when that movie came out, so I'm glad they did it. So now I remember that comes out this Friday.
I mean, the mission accomplished.
So it served its purpose for me.
Accomplished. Yeah, I guess. I don't know, man. It just kind of, I don't know, like
zombie tigers, man.
Be serious or don't. Like if you're gonna commit to it, commit to it. I just feel like they didn't fully all the way commit to what could have been a funny little game.
You know what I hope? I hope that Show for Men is listening right now so they can pull this clip. I could help them if they need help with that. So they can fully dissect our reaction to something that's just not real. Why are they upset? We're not upset about it. We're just talking about it. That's what fans do.
Speaking of talking about it, when we come back, we talk about what you're talking about for Twitter trending topic. Everybody's favorite game. Zoe tells me what's trending on Twitter. I give you 30 to 45 seconds of what I know about it. If I don't know anything about it, well, I make it up, just like most things in my career so far. Twitter trending topics is next on the Rob Brown Show. This is ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show. Listen on your Amazon or Google smart speaker. Just say
Josh, I'm telling you, I'm getting Zoe to a game. I'm going to get him in the supporter section. He's going to love it.
I would have went yesterday, but I've committed to help my son paint. And so I was painting for most of the day yesterday, which we are nearing the end of the project. And, he helps me a lot. So I want to be there to help him whenever he needs help. So that's what I was doing. And it could be that we're just such horrible painters that it's just taking so long to get it done.
Let's see what we're looking at here. Next home match will be
1 minute.
June 16th, Lonzo.
What day is that?
I'm about to tell you. June 16th will be a Wednesday evening, 7 p.m.
Definitely a possibility.
And then June 23rd, that is going to be a Wednesday evening as well. Back-to-back Wednesday games. And then,
I don't know if I spend a Wednesday evening in Greenville, I might melt, but we'll see. 30 seconds. And I promise that I won't go to the game with a Rob Brown attitude that I'm just not going to like it, so I don't like it.
My favorite thing is all these personality traits that you're giving me.
Snyder cut.
Presents Twitter Trending Topics.
It is time for Twitter Trending Topics, where I tell Rob what is trending on the internets. He will tell us what he knows about it. By the way, you should always join us on the stream. The conversation, sometimes nerdy, but other times very reflective of who we are as human beings. All right, the first thing trending is Stephen A. Smith.
Stephen A. Smith is trending, screaming A. I do not know why he is trending. I'm assuming it's probably going to have a connection to the NBA. He probably said something ridiculous, but I don't know.
He said that Kyrie Irving should retire.
Okay, so it is something ridiculous.
Because he can't focus on basketball.
I don't know, man. I mean, like, he's not.
Come on, we're talking about how weird Kyrie is half the time.
Yeah, I mean,
so
like the take is not a foundationally bad take, right? Like, it's not a bad take.
Yeah, and not all the games he missed was because of injury.
Yeah, it's like it's not. It's one of those things. Like, the take's not bad because he's wrong at its foundation. He's done what I like to call the Skip Bayless, which is the way that Skip Bayless remains so damn relevant is because Skip still makes a bad take, but he builds it on a solid foundation, right? Like, he makes it's bad enough to get you angry, but it's got at least some foundational truth to it. You ever had an argument with somebody, Zoe, where, like, once you realize the premise of what they're arguing, you're just like, you know what? It's not even worth my time. I'm just not, like, whatever. You just believe that. That's what Skip does, except he makes the foundation just strong enough that you feel compelled to argue with him, even though you know he is trolling. That's the Skip Bayless approach, and Stephen A. Smith is not bad at it.
Well, both those guys skilled enough to make more money than you and I combined will ever see in our entire lifetime.
I mean, challenge accepted.
Which is kind of sad. Well, yeah, I mean, if you know of a way for us to make that much money legally, I'm down, probably.
Male modeling.
Yeah, probably. I could probably hand model. Feet, though, probably not going to work. And I'm down for the big and tall. I can do that without a doubt.
Not mad about it.
All right, the next thing trending is Marv Albert.
Marv has announced that he will be calling it a career this year. He is going to do the Eastern Conference Finals.
And then he's putting the toupee away.
Yes, and then hanging up the toupee on his way out the door. Talk about a dude. Marv Albert, man, like he had some weird moments in his career that he found a way to persevere through.
Some backbiting type of moments.
Yes, those kind of moments. And he found a way to persevere through and almost kind of become a voice of the voice of the NBA. But yeah, you can hear it. He's been getting a little less talented, a little less good throughout the years. Like he's had a couple where he's, named the right. He's gotten in that Vern Lundquist territory where everybody's like, dude, you're an icon and you're a legend and you should stop before you burn it all down on your way out. So I think that's the direction he's decided to go. And Marv Albert, there you go.
Wonder if it was his decision or a decision made for him. Either way, it's a good decision.
Yeah, I agree. I would guess Marv is doing this on his own. And on top of that, like I said, Marv's got a, shall we say, sordid backstory in some places. And
backstories.
I didn't even do that one on purpose. He's got a sordid backstory. And of course, as the social media age comes to light, those with sordid backstories frequently find themselves on the receiving end of flames that they thought they had passed up. And I think there's probably some element of that in there as well.
All right, last thing real quick. Adam Sandler.
No idea why Adam Sandler is trending. Is it his birthday? Does he have COVID? It's one of those two reasons.
All right, Adam Sandler is trending because there are videos all over the place of him just joining a pickup basketball game in New York and playing quite well. Just walking on the court and just start playing basketball.
I just pulled up the video. Adam Sandler is out there balling in the below knee length and one shorts and an orange polo shirt, and apparently was smoking some chumps when he was doing it. Okay, go on then, Adam. Do your thing. That's it. Mark Ryan and Diesel up next for Offsides for Lonzo. My name is Rob Brown. Thank you guys so much for listening. We wouldn't be doing what we do without you guys hanging out with us. Don't drink and drive. I'll punch you in the face. Have a great rest of your day. It's the Rob Brown Show right here on ESPN Upstate. Later.